The protest was against next week's parliamentary election, which excludes black people. Our correspondent, James Robbins, has compiled this report under the South African government's reporting restrictions.
The day police tried to close Cape Town. Small groups of protesters converging on the city, overwhelmed by 2,500 police swamping the streets. Leading one of the marches, the Reverend Alan Busak, just one of hundreds later arrested and held for several hours. The police had promised stern action, and in an effort to stop the story getting out, they cleared the streets of journalists, warning, then arresting dozens.
If we find you back in this area or anywhere in this area, we will arrest you.
Some marchers did reach police lines, only to be forced back. Water cannon loaded with penetrating dye were brought up. We cannot film the powerful jets knocking over demonstrators, the dye painting Cape Town purple. As shoppers fled in panic, marchers were beaten and tear-gassed away. Across the city centre, hundreds were detained, including tourists. A German school teacher seized photographing a church, as snatch squads grabbed anyone stained with the dye. Those who escaped arrest took refuge in Archbishop Tutu's cathedral.
This is for real, and we have committed ourselves. We have committed ourselves to this struggle until freedom is won.
900 miles away in Soweto, troops are back in the township in strength to stop protests spreading from the Cape. Jabulani Stadium surrounded to stifle a planned meeting. One Soweto church service did survive. The congregation urged to maintain defiance. James Robbins, BBC News, South Africa.
One person...
Church leaders in South Africa said tonight that the government had declared open war on its people. They made the statement after police used tear gas and water cannon to break up an anti-apartheid demonstration in Cape Town. Kevin Dunn's report has been compiled under South Africa's reporting restrictions.
Police were determined to stop the banned march before it began. Yellow police armour sealing off the centre of Cape Town, and officers in plain clothes told all cameramen to leave the area.
If we find you back in this area or anywhere in this area, we will arrest you.
The police also raided offices of a foreign television agency. Leading churchman Alan Busak said blacks wanted to show their rejection of next week's segregated election.
It is about white people retaining their power in parliament and economically and politically in this country, and we protest that.
Hundreds of protesters, black and white, eventually gathered to confront lines of police. Argument turned to anger when instead of dispersing, they sat down in the street. Restrictions on the media prevent us from showing what happened next. But after the spraying of purple dye and tear gas canisters, the demonstrators did disperse. Hundreds, though, were arrested. Those who were not took refuge in the cathedral, where Archbishop Tutu rallied their morale.
My freedom is inalienable. My freedom is God-given. My freedom is God-given. I don't go around saying, "Boss, please make me free." Now straighten up your shoulders. Come on, straighten up your shoulders. Huh? Straighten up your shoulders like people who are born for freedom.
And he said the struggle will continue until that freedom is won. Kevin Dunn, ITN, in South Africa.
British